Hello and welcome to DVB Box Pop, a podcast featuring voices from Generation Z
We are your hosts, Ningsu.
and Duya,
Tune in every week to hear young people share their personal stories,
and how they hope to achieve a future democratic Myanmar.
free from military dictatorship. To listen, follow DVB English in your podcast app.
DVB Box Pop is available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Duya. Today I'm with Nanyi, the founder and director of Doh Zat, for this episode. Nanyi, welcome and thank you for being here with me.
Thank you for inviting me.
Nanyi, before you came to Thailand, you had experience as blogger who wrote articles about arts, cultures, and LGBTQIA+ in Myanmar. So, can you tell me more about your journey briefly?
Okay, so I graduated with art and culture. So since I graduated, I started blogging because it was really popular back in Myanmar. There's lots of bloggers who wrote on Blogspot, WordPress, such kind of thing. And I started writing about my because I have an art background, I learned a lot about that. So I started writing about arts and like Myanmar culture, Myanmar mural painting, such kind of thing. And then one thing led to another. I involved a lot in blogger movement because they are banned in Myanmar back then. So we have to do a lot about freedom of expression, such kind of thing. So I also wrote a lot about that. And then since I'm a LGBTIQ member, so I wrote a lot about the rights and the term and gave awareness to public basically. And I moved here last year, and since then my friend and I talk a lot about like mental illness because of things we've been through because of the COVID and because of coup. And so we are thinking but Myanmar people don't like to talk about that. Myanmar people don't think mental illness is a problem. They think most of them think mental illness is for weak, right? And we don't obviously we don't agree with that. So we're thinking if we don't talk about that, how do we solve that? So we need to speak up. We need to talk a lot about mental illness. We need to let people know that this is not mental health is not it's not a bad thing, right? You need to talk about that. You have to have a place where you can talk about that. So that's why we created Doh Zat, and this is a kind of a platform where you can share your experience, where you can read about other people's experience, and feel that you're not alone.
How did you get the idea to make the Doh Zat, and what's the meaning of the Doh Zat for those who don't know about Doh Zat?
So when we think about the foundation name, so we think a lot about connecting, creating stories, sharing, such kind of thing. So and finally we choose this word Doh Zat, means which can mean two things. One is our stories, Doh Zat. So our stories meaning we have our own stories and we share our stories with that meaning. And then the other thing, when people heard Doh Zat, they immediately think of the what is that called, domino, right? So we also like that word because domino is connecting a lot of blogs and create one thing. So we really like this Doh Zat, which can mean two things.
I've seen there were only articles on your website. But now you are also producing podcasts. So how did you get the idea to start podcasting?
Okay, so when we started it, we didn't think much. We just want to create a platform where people can share about their, experience of mental health, experience of their, violence, the story they got from violence, domestic abuse, such kind of thing. So we just create this platform. But then when we start launching one or two stories, we share to our friends, then they read it and they really like it. They share to their friends, and people started to give attention to us, and then suddenly there's a lot of people who wants to share their stories, and there's a lot of people who wants to work together, who wants to volunteer. So we came suddenly, from 2 of us, and then suddenly we came bigger, right? So right now we have 14 team members, all voluntarily, and they all somehow have their own experience of mental health and own experience of this violence, abuse, such kind of thing. Sharing the story is good, but we also have to give the awareness of mental health, right? So we put we call that educational part. So every story, end of every story, we put educational part about mental health. Like, this story is talking about this. Because of this keyword and because of this experience, this person have this kind of mental illness, for example. So, but writing on website and sharing on Facebook, it have limit, right? You cannot create 2-page long story on website and Facebook. People won't read that. So we're thinking but we need to give more detail, and because people who read the stories, they're like, oh, okay, this happened, and this is called this kind of mental health issue, but how do you solve it? People want to know that, and people give comments about okay, I'm also having this kind of experience, the same thing, but how do you solve it? How do you overcome this kind of experience? So we had this idea in last year, 2022 April, and then we start working on it, 2 of us only, and then like I said, there's a lot of stories and there's a lot of people who wants to help and work together. So we're like, okay, why not? The bigger the better, and the more story, okay, it's good. So we decided to do the official kind of launch in Chiang Mai, and our team has only 14 people, but we have 8 different countries and 3 different languages we speak. So it's kind of challenging and also fun. Even though we have different language, we came from different backgrounds, we came from different countries, we all have the same pain, right? The same mental issue, the same experience. So it's good to know that. We try to mention that at our launch, and since Chiang Mai is a multicultural city, the people who joined to our launch event, they all also came from a lot of different countries and a lot of different backgrounds. After the launch, and when people came to talk to us, and so we kind of know oh, okay, even though you are different outside, you can relate to each other. Yeah.
Is there a specific article that has same experience as you? If so, could you please explain? Could you please share with us?
Since we started, 2 of us, we started writing our own, experience, our own stories. So there's 2 articles about me, and also our team member. They also share their own story. So there's a few stories that came directly from Doh Zat's team members, right? And so it's because people who volunteer at Doh Zat, they are interested in this kind of work because they've been through this kind of experience, right? They all somehow have their own mental issues and experience. So that's why they are really interested to work this kind of job, right? So we have some difficulties about writing, translating, and publish the story, because we want to publish the story in English and Myanmar, because we want to let people know that this is not only about Myanmar people, this is also the stories from USA, the story of a girl of UK, that kind of thing. So we have lots of translators and we have lots of editors, because sometimes the stories can trigger trigger us, right? So let's say I'm a like child rape survivor, so I cannot read or work on the stories about child abuse or rape case, such kind of thing. So we need to have a lot of people. So like, okay, I cannot work with the story, this trigger me, so another person have to take care of that. And if she is telling like, this is very re-traumatizing me, can you do this, can you work this? So we need to have lots of different people to work on translation, to do the editing and everything. So it's a challenging part, but sharing our own stories and sharing our own experience also make us overcome the experience.
You mentioned like you were abused when you were a child, so that was very traumatizing for you. So how did you overcome to this experience? I know that wasn't easy for you, so how did you overcome it?
Through a lot of treatment and a lot of psychosocial support, a lot of therapy sessions. So that's why I call myself, I was a victim, but I am now a survivor. That's what we all talked in, and Doh Zat among the team members. Like we are all survivor. We have this bad experience, very traumatizing past, but we overcome it in many different ways, and we survived. And right now we are trying to help those people who are still in the dark. Yeah.
In Myanmar, like especially in family, like you don't say about the mental health that you're suffering to your parents. How do you think about that?
Yeah, in Myanmar, when you were born and when you started going to school, parents always told teacher that, okay, this is your student now. You can you can teach in whatever way you like, and that's the kind of what like in Myanmar, like so it's like you can beat your student, you can abuse your student, you can give inappropriate punishments to students. Some like standing outside of the classroom is fine, but removing the pants or something like that and beating, or like pinching the ear or hair, something like that. So it's abuse forms, but people never realize that. People always say, like parents always say, oh, your teacher did this to you because he meant good for you, something like that. And it's a kind of like long old habit of thinking. So people don't see it as abuse. People don't see a lot of things as harassments, like talking dirty joke at work or something like that, right? There's a workplace harassment, but people don't know that. Myanmar people don't know that, and especially coming to the child abuse and domestic violence, people always say like, oh, is there a family issue? Is there a family matter? You don't involve in that. When like a mother or a father beat to their children, the neighbor, the people, the relatives, they're like, oh, it's their own family issue. And when a husband beat his wife, or a wife slap her husband, they're like, oh, this is their family issue. So this kind of things become habit, and this kind of thing is a really old long custom of Myanmar. And we are talking like we want to highlight that these are not family issue. This is an abuse. This is a harassment. So you have to address that. You have to speak that women, they are not afraid, or they are okay to talk about their abusive husband, because neighbors, the community, they are like, oh yeah, poor you, your husband is bad, something like that. So women are still okay to come out and talk about that, but men especially, even they are in an abusive relationship, because of the toxic masculinity, they don't talk about that, or they don't want to talk about like his wife abused him, something like that. And it's become very toxic. It's become very unhealthy for the victim and also the society, right? So we want to distribute and publish the story about abusive relationship. And we also have one story about a man who abused by his wife. So we of course we use different name and different kind of we create a different person kind of story, but it's coming from actual victim. And by publishing that, people can also know that this is okay to speak up, this is okay to highlight, this is something you have to talk to people, right? So we want to break this kind of taboo by giving them a place to talk their stories. When we say abusive relationship or something like that, people always see like beating, slapping, having a physical abuse, but actually it's also include like emotional abuse, something like, because the story we publish right now, so that man, his wife abused him not physically but emotionally by controlling the financial thing, and by accusing him with all different girls, and by like something like emotional abuse. But sometimes like people don't see it, because emotional abuse can be very it's hard to it's hard to see. It's not very obvious sometimes, but like little by little, this emotional abuse kind of become really big issues, right? So yeah, like even men or women also, they need to see that what are the abusive forms, what are the abusive behavior, what are the, because like when someone slap you or beat you, you can immediately know that, oh, this is abusive, this is not good, I need to get out, right? But emotional abuse is not coming like that. Like it come really smoothly and like and but without you realize it, you become a victim and you are trapped in that kind of relationship. So people need to know what are the abusive behavior, what are the unhealthy relationships. So that's why we try to give, that's why we put like educational part, because of this, because of that, this is called what, this is called this, like terminology and everything, yeah.
Since the coup, a lot of young people, and not just young people, a lot of people in Myanmar have suffering the mental illness. Is there any platform to speak out about mental illness?
We know that Myanmar people don't like to talk about mental illness before, but since COVID hit and people starting to realize that, oh, this is not a joke, like mental illness, you have to see that, you have to address that, you have to try to solve that in some way. So since 2020, late 2020, people starting to try to see counseling, try to get the counseling sessions and everything. So since then, there's a lot of counseling organization, like mental health service organization, because before people don't know a lot about mental health psychiatrist or counselor, but like since late 2020s, there's a lot of different organizations where you can get counselings either paid or free, or some organization, they even have a Facebook, and they give the free on Facebook is free, right? But like they give they post videos about like education on mental health and everything. So there's a lot of different organizations you can contact, but especially some people, because Doh Zat also have Facebook page, and then we have psychosocial responder, 2 psychosocial responders on our page, where when people come and talk about their difficulties of their challenging experience and everything, we have professional people who can talk to them through message on Facebook Messenger. Actually, last year there's one girl who contact on Facebook Messenger, so she was trying to commit suicide at that time, so because she was like pregnant and there's nobody to help her, and she really have struggling and physically and financially. So our team like immediately the responder, she was trying to talk to out of her this situation, but then she was like asking opinion and suggestion from us also, like, oh, this girl is in really bad shape, like how do we do, what do we do? And then we immediately connect her with a free counselor, and then so we can proudly say that we prevent one suicidal case. And so yeah, there's a lot of different platforms, but also you can also contact to us, because we are working with a few different psychosocial support, and also a few different counseling service. So even it is out of our capacity, I mean Doh Zat capacity, we can connect people to the professional organizations. Yeah.
I went to Myanmar-Thai border last month, so I met a lot of UN activists, CDMers, people who are living in that border, but they're suffering like mental breakdown. They're just suffering mental breakdown. They suffer like when they were in Myanmar, but even they were living in borderline. They still suffer the mental illness because of they are afraid of like being arrested by the Thai police or the killed by the military soldier. How do you think to overcome those kind of mental illness?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also know. Of course, we know lots of people in the border, in different city in Thailand, and also at the border, but in Myanmar, right? So everybody have their own mental health issue. They have physical challenging situations and everything. But main thing is like they how to say that, like people in the city, like big city in Chiang Mai, Bangkok, they know how to get the help, how to get support on mentally or other things. But like people from border area, they have really limited resources, right? They don't know where to get free counseling, or even they know how to get free counseling from different organizations, but they don't have the situation to get that, right? Because having a mental health counseling session, you need internet at least, because right now people have to meet the counselor through online. So you need internet, you need quiet environment, you need a safe place where you can talk your mental issues freely, but they don't have that kind of situations. So when we started working on this mental health issue, we also talk to people from border area and get their stories. So we have a few stories published, a few stories from that area, coming from people from that area. And when we talk to them, they were really like, oh, it's really good to talk all these, to get these from my chest. And we encourage them to get the mental health support, or we can give free counseling to you. But even we offer the free counseling session, they are not in the situation to receive those, because they are not I share a house with like 8 different people. I don't have a private room. I don't have so some people like, oh, I don't have internet, whatever. So that's also one of the reasons we started the podcast, right? So even though they cannot meet the counselors in person, when they listen to this podcast and know like how to overcome, how to do the breathing exercise, or how to cope their feelings and everything, it's like it's not 100% helpful, but like maybe even if 30% helpful, it's what to do it, right? Yeah. So that's why we started the podcast. Yeah.
What do you want to achieve with Doh Zat in the future?
So in the future, like in a short run, because right now we are not the, how to say that, legal or professional organization. We are all work on volunteer base. So in the short term, we want to just continue what we are doing right now, publishing the story and presenting the art, because like Doh Zat story, each Doh Zat story, we, how to say that, we interpret the story into an art form. That could be illustration, painting, or poem, or anything, so that people can, because these kind of stories it's very hard to read also. So after like one story or two story, you will really get drained and everything. So we also give kind of therapeutic art, so that people can also feel a bit relief. And also we want to continue the podcast, and we are trying to have some, how to say that, workshop with help of other organizations, so that we can give some psychosocial support to the victims and to the storytellers. And for the long run, we really want to, how to say that, help people on their mental health issues, and also give them the awareness that this is okay to talk, this is okay to speak up, and it's okay not to be okay, right? Like it's if you are sad right now, it's okay, you can be sad. If you are depressed, you can be depressed, but you don't have to be strong all the time. So that kind of awareness, that kind of mental health solution to people. Yeah.
So what do you hope for the future of Myanmar?
So we can see that right now we have a lot of people, not a lot of people, I think every Myanmar people, every Myanmar citizen have mental health issue in their own different way, and there will be more even after our revolutions and or something. So we try to, as the Doh Zat as an organization, we try to fill that void with like as a middle platform where where we, because we have in touch with this people, and also we also have connection with different organizations that can support us financially, or as a organization. So we try to connect people who are in need and people who can help, right? So Doh Zat could be the middle platform for that, and we really hope that as a country in Myanmar, like in future, like mental health and well-being and care could be presented, and where people are free of their trauma, and their people where people can be free from abuse, any kind of abuse or violence. Yeah, that's what we are hoping. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time and sharing your story and experience with me.
Thank you for inviting me too. Yeah, thank you.
Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao.